Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Comics Inc. Issue 5. I'm your host, Reuben, and I'm joined by Rick.
Hello.
And excitingly, back from his absence, saving the world from an asteroid, it's Ryan.
Hello.
I thought he got Thanos out of existence, to be honest, but...
That was it. I've been clicked.
You got snapped, did you?
It's fine. He was... We all saw the end of Ant-Man, it's all good.
I genuinely hope everyone who's listening to this has seen the end of Ant-Man now. Otherwise, you've just Bruce Willis the hell out of that film for people.
What if someone on the actual podcast hasn't seen Ant-Man
Oh,
yet?
God, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I'm good.
Oh, no.
Well, when we get through to the stories, you'll see that I am a DC person, so me hearing a Marvel spoiler is not the end of my world.
Reuben, you are actually the devil.
I'm a terrible person. It's the most recent film as well, so I don't even have a leg to stand on.
It's not even like is it on DVD yet? Because if it's on
I don't
DVD,
think so.
you can probably get away with it. So effectively, you've just ruined it.
I've made a mistake there, guys. I'm very sorry. But handily, speaking of the most recent Marvel movie, a film I can't spoil, is Captain Marvel.
I bet you'll find a way to spoil it.
I'll manage somehow. We talked quite a lot about it over the past couple of episodes, but now, finally, after the release of the initial images we talked about last time, the trailer has officially been released. It's on YouTube, on the Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel. By now, you've probably had a chance to see it. It appears to be sometime in the 90s, or at least kind of the late 20th century, so earlier.
It's the 90s.
It's the 90s, definitely. So
Confirmed.
before any of the Iron Man films, but well after kind of Captain America's been and done. Yeah, it looks pretty spectacular, I thought. Like, they're clearly bringing some of the weird Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy space stuff down onto Earth. It's got Sam Jackson looking inexplicably young again. Like, that technology has pretty much, like, it works now. Compared to, like, the earliest example I remember is, I think it's Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Which was terrible.
It was good for the time.
I mean, that's fair, yeah. He just looks like a CGI render of Jeff Bridges. He doesn't really look young again. And then there's some trickery with various characters in... actually, no, I was about to spoil some things. I won't say that either. But yeah, it's Samuel Jackson. Officially, he just looks like Samuel L. Jackson looked in the 90s, to be honest. That's pretty impressive. We get to see some of Captain Marvel showing off her superpowers, flying, shooting laser beams. In my favourite inexplicable scene, she just haymakers an old lady on the New York subway for no apparent reason.
That was my favourite scene as well.
That's the best part of that whole thing. I think she's probably going to turn out to be a Skrull, if only because having Captain Marvel just sucker punch an octogenarian is probably not a strong look.
I genuinely hope it's a case of mistaken identity, and she does just clock this old woman, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I thought you were something else."
You look so much like an alien to me that I just punched you in the face.
Yeah, I feel like if Captain Marvel punched that woman that hard, if she isn't a Skrull, she's definitely dead. So, unless the movie's about her learning the consequences of her actions after committing an act of murder,
this would be a really good misdirection, wouldn't it? If the whole movie's her, it's Captain Marvel, but then they released the tagline, it's Captain Marvel on trial. Forget Avengers 4.
That's the one we're all crying out for, is the courtroom drama.
Yeah.
That would be a weird twist on that whole kind of formula.
I was just hoping that it'd be a film of Captain Marvel walking around punching random people in the face.
It's the only way to be safe from Skrulls. You just have to punch every third person you see.
Yeah.
And that'll deal with it for you. Have you guys had a chance to watch the trailer yet? What did you guys think of it?
I thought it was crap.
Really?
Yeah, it's a crap trailer. The film looks amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, the film looks amazing. I'm super hyped for it. But as trailers go, it was garbage. It was weirdly edited. Like, there was a lot of quick cuts that kind of... It was hard to get invested in it. You'd see something and go, oh, it's gone. Oh, it's gone. And the way that the voiceover is edited as well, you can tell that it's sections from different conversations throughout the movie.
Yeah.
It sounded disjointed. And as the trailer goes, it reminded me of the Venom trailer, to be honest, for just, oh, okay, this is fine. Like, the movie looks incredible. I love the fact that you see her in the green costume for the majority, but then you do see the classic colours, like the red, gold, and blue colours, like the normal colours. That looks great. I love the fact that she has the helmet with the mohawk.
That is an incredibly strong look.
And the helmet looks so good. Like, when it comes to comic accurate characters, like, you guys know how I feel about some comic accurate characters. Black Manta. And this could have looked bad, but it didn't. You know, the mohawk helmet, just when you get that close up of her, the helmet, the white eyes, looks amazing. That little clip of the Skrulls that you see, not as good as looking at a picture of them. Would have liked to have seen that more in action. The little shot of Coulson with his little cow's lick hair was adorable. Sam Jackson looked great. But yeah, as a trailer, it didn't do the job for me.
I thought it was a bit cringy, not cringy as well. I thought that they played a little bit heavily on the fact that it's a female superhero movie, which isn't a massive problem, but, you know, they did that, the text over the screen is like, what makes this person a hero?
What makes her a hero?
And then they split it into hero. And I just thought, like, you know, you don't have to be that heavy-handed with it.
I liked that, to be honest. That was one part I did like. The one thing that I didn't like was the line that they chose to end it on, which was, "I'm not what you think I am." It's like, go away.
That's so generic-y.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't, at this point in say, the MCU, you don't need characters saying that, because people know what's happening.
You don't need to be kind of edgy, and especially because Captain Marvel is a pretty, like, interesting and emotionally complex character, but I don't think she doesn't need to be all, like, teenage angst and you can't define me. Like, I think she seems pretty, like, on board with the whole having a mohawk flying through space punching aliens business.
Yeah, at least it's not like teenage angst, like saying F somebody like Titans or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's a sliding scale, certainly.
Someone used the comparison of the Wonder Woman trailer. I can't remember who it was, so I can't give credit. But they were saying, whereas in this, you've got text and stuff telling you that she's a badass female hero, the Wonder Woman trailer showed you.
Yeah, there is that.
And I'd rather that they did the show not tell thing, where you just a couple of seconds, like if they would have just had what this trailer needed was that shot of Wonder Woman where she stood there with a shield up taking bullets on No Man's Land.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That shot in the Wonder Woman trailer was like, this is someone you don't mess with. This is Wonder Woman. This film didn't have that shot. It had the jokes, it had the quips, it had the references, but it didn't have that shot.
I wonder if that's just to avoid spoilers, because, you know, given everything that happened in Infinity War, which I will not spoil, but it was kind of pretty climactic, and then linking back to this movie clearly implies that, you know, there might be some connection, or at the very least, if Skrulls are the issue, not many people know much about the Skrulls. So maybe any of the really cool moments of her standing, getting blasted by lasers, which you do see a little bit of, would be too much of a spoiler, and they kind of want to keep things under wraps.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they might save it for a future trailer anyway.
Yeah,
you know, we've probably still got at least 2-3 trailers to come.
Oh, true. Yeah, they just said it was coming out next year, so that's any time in the next sort of 15 months. So plenty of time for more trailers.
6 months. It's out in March.
Oh, was it March? I remember seeing 2019. I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
if there was
March
a month
2019, and then we've got
well, there you go.
Avengers 4 in May.
That's a lot of movies, but I'm very excited.
Now, what I wanted them to do with it, or what I'd like them to do with a future episode, is do a 90s style trailer.
That would be quite cool. I enjoy when people regrade things and put effects on them.
Complete with the epic voiceover. Like,
yeah.
You know, so instead of reading it in text, you could be like, her becomes a hero and all that.
Her becomes a hero doesn't really scan as a sentence, though.
No, but you know what I mean.
And become the heroes.
I don't write these things, I don't know. But I thought like a proper 90s style trailer, complete with voiceover and like filter on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Or something. That'd just be cool, because it'd make it look fun. It'd kind of get the tone of the 90s ready. And, you know, you can have your super serious trailer a bit later on.
From now until March, without a single trailer, without any Nirvana anywhere on it, I will be very surprised.
To be honest, if we don't get any Nine Inch Nails, she's rocking the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt through all the promo stuff. It's like, let's hear it. It's 90s. You can even have Korn. You can have Limp Bizkit.
Oh, God. That's not exactly on brand, though, is it? I mean, maybe Captain Marvel's favourite band is Limp Bizkit, but I feel like...
That'd be amazing. That'd just kind of go against everything she stands for.
Yeah, exactly.
Feminism? What's that? I listen to Limp Bizkit.
Oh dear, that would be actually. You know, if Limp Bizkit did like sort of a soundtrack for it in the same way like Kendrick Lamar or Eminem have been brought in to do films for it, I feel like they would be sticking to their guns. They shouldn't, but it'd be very entertaining.
Yeah.
So, Rick, what do you have for us?
You'll never guess. And you see, I'm setting that up badly because you're the one that found the story.
I mean, you know.
I'm going to talk about Star Wars.
Wait, make Ryan guess instead, but don't look at the doc.
Yeah, don't look at the doc that I've already looked at. It's like, let me guess, and I could pretend I'm really smart.
This is just getting awkward now. I'm going to talk about Star Wars. So the story comes from comic book resources, and we're getting some new Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn comics incoming.
Lovely.
So December sees the beginning of the brand new Star Wars comic event, Star Wars Age of Republic, which will see stories surrounding 4 of the most memorable heroes and villains from the era of the much maligned prequel movies. The official announcement reads, "This is the age of Star Wars. Star Wars Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion, and Age of Resistance chronologically tells a story of spectacular adventures featuring your favourite characters from all 3 Star Wars trilogies." Starting with the Age of Republic this December, writer Jodie Houser teams with artist Corey Smith and Luke Ross to spotlight 4 of the greatest heroes and 4 of the coolest villains from the prequel films during the waning days of the Old Republic. Witness the never-before-seen moments that define the characters, the incredible battles that shape them, and the eternal conflict between the light and the dark, good and evil. The first 2 of the series are Star Wars Age of Republic, Darth Maul #1, and Star Wars Age of Republic, Qui-Gon #1. The synopsis for Darth Maul #1 reads, "A living weapon of rage and bloodthirst, Darth Maul has stayed in the shadows of Coruscant, waiting for his chance to strike against the Jedi Order. However, since tasting his first blood, the Sith struggles to contain the desire for destruction and questions the wishes of his methodically plotting master. Could Maul have had another path in life, or was he always fated to follow a dark road?" Guest starring Darth Sidious. And the synopsis for Qui-Gon #1 reads, "Considered one of the greatest Jedi Knights, or the one who led them to their doom, Maverick Qui-Gon Jinn is one of Star Wars' most controversial heroes. The Jedi Master is known to bend the rules, and it's gotten him into plenty of trouble with the Council. Now, in the face of a mission that goes awry, again, he's forced to confront his conflicting beliefs. What will Qui-Gon uncover about his loyalty to the Jedi versus the loyalty to the Force?" Guest starring a puppet. Now, this is cool, because from the sounds of that Darth Maul description, it sounds like the follow-up to the one that I spoke about in one of the earlier episodes. So that's cool. But I'm going to throw it to you guys. Obviously, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm super excited. But what do you guys think to this new event that they're having with the 3 different eras being explored a little more deeply in comic books?
I think it sounds great, actually. I mean, I've read sort of a couple of the Star Wars comics before, and they've definitely got a lot about them. And Darth Maul's a great character anyway, so there's plenty to explore with him. One quick comment on these synopsis. Why do they have to put guest starring Darth Sidious or whatever? Like, of course he's going to be in it. Like, what? Why do they need to promote this?
Because you had to ask Darth Sidious for permission to draw him. Obviously.
Obviously.
Come on, get force lightninged. Come on.
Yeah, come on. But no, I mean, I'm not necessarily that hyped for the Qui-Gon one, but the Darth Maul one would definitely be something that I'll pick up and have a look at.
Now, I think the Qui-Gon one is going to be really good as well, because he's one of my personal favourite characters in Star Wars. I did a comedy show a few months ago where I had to defend him for 10 minutes. And he's a really interesting character. He just wasn't given as much screen time, as much love as other characters. But since we've had the revival, right, since we've had the new expanded universe coming in and new writers coming in and all this stuff, it's like, hello.
Someone's cat has very strong opinions about Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn is clearly controversial.
Frodo isn't a fan of Qui-Gon Jinn. But what about you, Reuben? He completely cut me off and balls up my train of thought. So what do you think to these?
Sorry about that. I mean, I think... I'm less, probably, again, I think everyone's slightly less hyped for more Darth Maul comics than you, Rick, but I think they're interesting. Like, the fact that they chose to make them over all 3 eras, it seems to be that although, like they say, the prequel movies are pretty widely reviled, the actual universe they seem to have built seems quite popular between kind of the Clone Wars TV series and the comic books that have come out before. I guess it makes a lot of sense to try and build on what works about that whole section.
Yeah, like, as an era, the prequel era was really interesting. There were some great characters in there that needed to be explored more, and a lot of them were explored in the Clone Wars, so it's nice to see characters like Qui-Gon getting a bit more of a exploration, a bit more character development in official canon, not just the legend stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to those coming out in December. Definitely be picking them up. So you'll no doubt hear me talking about them on this very podcast. But I think that's it. So what have you got for us, Reuben?
This, I found this story. The bulk of the details come from a story that was featured on Newsarama, although I did see the tweet that they also quote, which I think also makes me a journalist, technically. So this is a kind of a smaller story, but a bit of a weird one. So Marvel Comics, the character Vision, you're all obviously familiar with from the various Avengers movies. He had a series a couple of years ago, written by, I believe by Tom King, it was just called The Vision, which was kind of supposed to be a story of the Vision who, for those unfamiliar with the character, he's kind of basically he's an android with a weird red face.
That's probably the best description I've ever heard of the Vision.
I mean, am I
Who's
wrong?
the Vision? One of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, boiled down to, is an android with a bit of a red face.
But does he have a red face, though? He does.
Yeah. As distinct from Ultron, an android who doesn't have a red face.
That's a good point, actually.
Well, he sometimes has a bit of red on his face, doesn't he?
A little bit, but it's not like a whole red face. Anyway, we're getting lost in the point. So that series came out a few years ago, and that was pretty widely acclaimed. And then supposedly we were going to get a kind of a follow-up to that, not by the same creative team, written instead by Chelsea Kane and Mark Mohan, and then Ord Koch doing the art. But that's the plan changed, it seems. Marvel decided to cancel the series. They haven't said why, and they've not reached out, as far as I could find, for any kind of comment on why it was done. But the original story was carried on Newsarama because it was the solicits for the issues had already gone out. So the general kind of summary of the story here from the solicitors the Marvel sent out. When Vision decided to try and live a normal life, he built a wife, a son, and a daughter, a family, only to watch it nearly all crumble. Now all that's left is Viv, his learning to be rebellious daughter, and Sparky, the family robo-dog. There's a bit more there, but I'm excited I would have been excited to find out more about Sparky, the family robo-dog. But yeah, they decided to cancel the series. It was supposed to be a 6-issue run. Apparently 4 had already been completed, at the very least at the writing stage, according to the tweet by Chelsea Kane, the writer. But it just kind of disappeared. They just kind of pulled it, and they haven't really addressed why, which is kind of strange that they get so far into the production process before deciding that it wasn't going to run, rather than letting it kind of, either be released, the issues they'd already sorted out, or just not bothering with it at all to begin with.
Maybe they weren't happy with the quality. Is the only thing that I can, even hazard a guess at the moment is maybe they've looked at what they've gone in the 4 issues, and they've gone to do the next 2, and they think, well, actually, no, it's not worth it. Just cancel the whole thing.
I would wonder that, but then I mean, not to malign the good people at Marvel, but I've read bad comic books before. Maybe the issues were absolutely terrible, which is entirely possible, but I have to wonder how bad they would be that they'd cancel things they already had to go, at least. Like, they have schedules and solicits, like retailers are already in the process of paying for issues. So it just seems like I wonder how atrocious they might have been that was the case. I'm kind of more curious to read them now I know that they might have been incredibly terrible.
Maybe interest on the Vision was down, and they realised that by putting it out there, they'd just be wasting money.
That is also possible, but then I can't imagine interest in the Vision was particularly high when the last series came out.
Yeah, but then the events of Civil War happened, didn't they? But then the events of Infinity War happened, and now that character's kind of out of everyone's mind.
I suppose so. I mean, he was, he wasn't the most popular Avenger even in the iterations where he got the most attention, I suppose.
Yeah, and now, due to the events of Infinity War, maybe Marvel are going, that's not a character that we need to support anymore. And they're just trying to get rid of things, put different people onto different creative teams. Maybe because they've just announced the new Spider-Man Miles Morales run, maybe because of, say, the popularity of the new game, they're going to be giving more of an emphasis on kind of Spider-Man characters, and we're like, oh, well, we need to pull something in order to make room for a new Spider-Man story. That'll do. Get rid of that and replace it with something else. We'll probably see something else come out in its stead.
Oh, I'm sure there's got to be something to fill the gap one way or the other. But yeah, you're probably right. It's probably a Spider-Man series they've had ready in the pipeline just to put out there.
Yeah.
Given how popular the game's been and everything recently. But yeah, I just thought that was
It's such a good game.
I've yet to play it, but it's on the list. It's every time I go onto the computer, my finger hovers over the order button on Amazon, and I'm just scooting closer.
It's ridiculously good.
It's the first game I've ever platinumed.
I'm close.
I've never been bothered to do it before, but this one I just wanted to keep playing and wanted to keep playing.
That's the only reason to platinum a game, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm not hugely swayed by achievements and things, so I feel like unless you're actually actively enjoying every second, it's not really worth it.
That's why I don't bother doing it. But this one, I just wanted to squeeze everything out of it, and I'll be buying the season pass for the DLC, which is something I never thought I'd say.
Oh, wow,
But
that is impressive.
The game is just that good, but we're getting off topic.
We are just a little bit. We're not a video games podcast. There are many other fine video games podcasts available on BigRedBarel.com.
Nice.
That was nice.
That was really smooth.
That was
good. That's I feel like we've drawn too much attention to it now.
Got some poo on your nose, Reuben.
Yeah, I don't have a good segue for this one.
We've just ruined it.
Yeah, you've ruined it.
Sticking with comics.
Yeah, sticking with comics, as we are wont to do on this comics podcast, we have some news out of Dark Horse.
Yes, this next story comes straight from the Dark Horse's mouth, as it were, and that is The Witcher is getting a new comic series. So the article on Dark Horse's official website reads, Dark Horse and CD Projekt Red are excited to flesh out the world of The Witcher with a new comic miniseries, The Witcher of Flesh and Flame. Written by Alexandra Matika, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and art by Mariana Strichowska, The Caravan and Duplicant. The Witcher of Flesh and Flame is the debut creation of this talented creative team. In The Witcher of Flesh and Flame, Geralt is summoned by an old friend to help solve a mystery involving his daughter. Upon his arrival, Geralt is surprised by another friend from the past, and he soon finds himself transported to regions beyond his original expectations. The Witcher of Flesh and Flame #1 of 4 goes on sale in December.
You guys, personally, I'm not tremendously familiar with the Witcher universe. I have the game sits on my computer and shames me for not playing it. Are either of you guys big into the Witcher stuff?
I have read the first book, which is a collection of short stories, and I have played around 12 hours of the first Witcher game.
Interesting.
I have not played the new one, although, much like you, it's sat there on my shelf, Game of the Year edition, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, going, why aren't you playing me? Why aren't you playing me? And I'm like, because you're not Spider-Man.
Mine says, why won't you play me? And I just look at you and go, I want to, but I don't have time to commit to you right now. And I'm terrible at RPGs. Leave me alone, Geralt.
Now, luckily, this is a comics podcast, so we don't need to have played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt to be taken seriously.
No, we can wildly speculate about this particular fantasy universe. I mean, it seems only natural. Like, everything I know about The Witcher suggests that it's got the kind of world that leads to a lot of kind of side stories. It's not necessarily like a grand kind of adventure in the sense that it would have, maybe just one protagonist and only one story happening in the world. Like, Geralt as a character gets up to a lot of stuff. So it seems like it'd be pretty promising.
But yeah, in the book that I read, all the little short stories, it was kind of like a dark take on fairy tales. Where, like, the one that sticks out from my mind is like a Beauty and the Beast one, where the Beast is cursed, but the Beauty is like some kind of monster that lures people in and then kills them. And it's the Beast that's the victim in all this. So it's kind of like dark fairy tales with a twist. So just doing that, there's potential to do loads of stuff. And yeah, like this has got me interested. I didn't realise that there was already a Witcher miniseries at Dark Horse, but apparently that comes out before. I think that's being released in like a collection in October. So that would be something that I'm going to check out, I think, because
I think the biggest interesting thing is that they've actually got the same writer that did the game's very, very popular DLC expansion pack. And it's always really good to see properties when they do get expanded that you keep the original people involved, and it's not just a completely separate thing that someone's trying to, let's say, cash in on. They're actually trying to use people that say, well, you've clearly got stories for it. You know, we're not developing a new one right now, so why don't we do a comic or something?
Yeah, it also means that like it's going to be tonally consistent as well, because it can be quite jarring when a new writer jumps into something and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel like these characters and that doesn't feel like this world. But if you've got that connection, you're going to pick it up and be like, yeah, this belongs in this world. So I'll be picking it up in December, so I'll no doubt give a little short review on this very here podcast, which I'm gonna it's a good way to get out of talking about things. Just say I'll read it, I'll get back onto it. But yeah, that's one to look out for. What's next?
I believe we have some other Witcher related news, Ryan.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly Witcher related. It's a great segue. We've always talked about Witcher, and obviously there's going to be a new Netflix show with Witcher starring Henry Cavill.
Who?
Who? Henry Cavill.
Never heard of him.
Well, that sort of leads into this point of the story. So he'll have a lot more time to do Netflix stories if this next story from The Hollywood Reporter is to be believed. DC's Man of Steel, Henry Cavill, is apparently out as Superman at WB, as they're looking to now go into a slightly different direction with their DCEU. Now, I'm just going to preface this with saying I don't think they know what direction they're going in.
Hopefully upwards.
I think it's the only way to go at this point, really, isn't it? Apparently, Warner Brothers have been trying to enlist Henry Cavill for a very short cameo in Shazam. I think I read a story earlier today that said it was only supposed to be 2 lines, but basically the contract talks between Cavill's reps and the studio broke down. The door is now closing on him getting any other opportunities to be Superman in any of the other potential movies. According to sources at Warner's, the negotiations collapsed due to scheduling conflicts, which again, if you're going for a 2-line cameo, I'm sure you could probably do that in a day or something. So I never really get these whole scheduling conflict things. Warner Brothers are now actually looking towards a Supergirl origin movie, which would effectively eliminate Cavill's Man of Steel from the timeline, because it will all mess up the whole Superman and Supergirl timeline. Doesn't actually make sense in my head. So it's all a bit of a weird one. Other sources at Warner's have said isn't likely to make another solo Superman film, at least for several years. They've said Superman is like James Bond, and after a certain run you have to look at new actors. They've also released a statement shortly after the news went live from The Hollywood Reporter, and the statement reads, "We have a great relationship and great respect for Henry Cavill that continues to remain unchanged. Additionally, we have made no current decisions regarding any upcoming Superman films," which is indicative of DC's entire DC planning, really. We have no plans. Marvel, they're like, yeah, we've got the next 20 years, effectively, we're all good. But DC have got nothing really planned. They keep bouncing around between Supergirl, then they want Birds of Prey, and then they want all these other different things. What do we think? Did we like Henry Cavill as Superman? Obviously, potentially he wasn't very well written, but do you think he was a good Superman?
I thought he was a good Superman that was just directed and written poorly. Like, he looked the part, and he started to act more like Superman at the end of Justice League. But 5 minutes out of 3 movies,
Yeah, I personally, I didn't think Henry Cavill was that great a choice as Superman. I don't think he's a terrible actor, really. I think he looks the part sort of in freeze frame. Like, he's clearly got exactly the right kind of body shape and the big square jaw and whatever else that you need to be Superman. But I think trying to be like a friendly, humble kind of person like Superman's supposed to be doesn't seem to be in his skill set.
Yeah.
The things I've seen him in that he's kind of turned in a decent performance, films like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible as well, the most recent one, he seems to be really good at playing unbearably smug alpha male types, which isn't really Superman's thing. He might have made quite a good sort of Bruce Wayne Batman combination, playing up the whole kind of playboy, swaggering, loose, drunk thing that Bruce Wayne kind of has going on, and then being angry and serious kind of in the background. But I thought as a Superman, it just seemed like he was being condescending all the time.
Yeah.
That's not really Superman's kind of prerogative. Normally he's supposed to be quite nice, but I mean, if he's moved on, I mean, he's not had an easy go of it, really. Like, it's no one involved in the DC universe has had a good time.
No.
Playing those characters, I suspect. So, yeah, if he's decided to move on, hopefully he'll be back in something else, playing some kind of unbearable tool, and he'll be much more likable doing it, I think.
So, The Witcher.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, if he just swans around with a big sword,
which he will. So I think he'll be all right in that.
I think DC just need to sort of stop and hit reset and try again in a few years, because Cavill's gone. Affleck's on his way out, apparently, so you're either going to be trying to... It sounds like they're trying to soft reboot it.
Yeah.
By going, oh, well, we're bringing in Supergirl, which essentially writes out Superman, but I thought that even though she's older, he got to Earth first.
What's interesting is the Supergirl TV show is already handling all of this, and this is the other thing about the whole, we're going to do a Supergirl movie. Why don't you just double down on the TV show? And in the same way that we could potentially do a whole Arrow and Flash thing with the guys you've already got, double down on those and make those really top tier properties.
But, like, you're the DC boy, right? So what they've done in the TV show about Kara being older but getting to Earth last, so he's, even though she's older, he's older. Is that how it is in the comics, or is she older than him?
It's a difficult one, because in pretty much every property I've ever seen, he's always older, and that's why she's Supergirl. It's all like he gets to Earth first and grows up in the right order. That's because I assume they don't grow in the pod, so I don't really get this whole timeline thing, because surely you'd still be fine having Supergirl and Cavill Superman.
Yeah, because I don't get why having Supergirl would erase him from the timeline. It doesn't make any sense. But that's by the by. Going on to Batman, it sounds like, is it Matt Vaughn who's doing the movie? The new one?
No, Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. It sounds like they're doing it kind of prequelish, like with a younger Batman. So it sounds like they're trying to do a soft reboot by telling stories from earlier. And you can keep Wonder Woman doing stuff. There won't be a Justice League anymore, so you can keep making Wonder Woman films, because they can be set anywhere because she doesn't age, and same with Aquaman. And yeah, they need to stop and try again, or end the universe and just focus on little one-shot movies, like a movie that we're going to be talking about in a moment. But I think that's how it should be structured from now on. Just do have 3 or 4 years of just standalone movies that don't connect, and then try again to make an expanded universe or a connected universe, but actually have a game plan this time.
I mean, that's kind of always been DC's strength, right? Like, their universe connects together broadly, and I'm not hugely knowledgeable about the Justice League, so I couldn't tell you if it always works, but, like, the notion that Batman has just sort of one-off stories. Like, he exists in the world, and he does a thing, he battles an enemy, he investigates a mystery, and that's collected in one kind of run or one kind of volume. Has always seemed to be kind of the strength of things, whereas Marvel lives and breathes on everyone living in one city in, their fictional New York. So I wonder if maybe, aside from the fact that the attempt to build the cinematic universe just kind of went sideways on them, maybe, like, it was always going to, because of the material they had to work with, it just wasn't going to support that kind of thing. Maybe they'd be better off just to go, here's this movie, and then here's this movie with a different subtitle, and then maybe the characters cross over, maybe they know each other. It's sort of vague.
Yeah, you can definitely do crossovers, but I think you're both right. They need to take a step back. The thing that Marvel had is, I actually rewatched Iron Man and Iron Man 2 the other day. I think they're on Netflix. Is how well things are built up because they took their time. Like, the Shield turns up in Iron Man 2, and there's little things here or there in the other films, and watching them back now, you go, oh, right, this makes sense.
Well, that's the thing with the Marvel films, because they didn't even have a plan. The first Iron Man, they did the Nick Fury teaser, and that was just supposed to tease. They didn't have a plan for Avengers at that point.
It was almost like an Easter egg for people. And that's the thing.
But because it worked so well, they went, oh, hang on, we can do this. And then worked slowly over the next 2 years to do it.
I think it's a case of, feel free to put Easter eggs in your movies and then take that. If people love it and say, oh my God, that's an Easter egg for X, I really want to see a movie about that, then you know what? Oh, great, do one. DC has got so many, it's the same with most comic properties. There's so much Batman lore you can go with to take one shots, Year One, Killing Joke, and things, and Superman's got great stories as well, and you don't always have to link things together. If you want to do the odd crossover, go for it, but don't make it the only thing you're going to try and do, because DC tried to do it all in a very short space of time, and they didn't need to. Release a Batman film. The amount of people that would think, you know what, I just want to go see another Batman film like Dark Knight in the same tone and everything. That's what I want. It's my favourite superhero movie because that's the tone that I wanted. Gritty, real, you can actually imagine this happening because everything's quite contained. That, can you imagine The Dark Knight with Superman coming in and flying in halfway through? It wouldn't work.
Yeah. No, that would, yeah.
So,
really, why didn't he help earlier?
I think that's the other problem with what DC are doing at the moment, though. They are chasing The Dark Knight. So they're trying to make all their other films, at least it looks like they're getting out of it now with Aquaman, which looks a little more lighthearted, but they're like, we need blue filters, we need gritty realism, for apparently you can get that.
You can't go over the top on it.
And it's the whole, like, look at Titans, just from that trailer that we've seen. Not everything has to be dark, not everything has to be, I'm Batman. Just every character has their own tone. It's the same with Marvel. A lot of Marvel characters have their own tone. And the genius of the crossover movies is the strength of the writers and the directors. Because, well, let's take Infinity War, for example. All the different teams coming together and all the different characters coming together, everyone got to keep their tone. And then when they met other people who tonally were different, they bumped heads. But no one had to sort of step away from who they are as characters, whereas it feels like with the DC universe, everyone has to be Batman.
Yeah, well, when you're dropping Superman into that really dark and gritty thing, that's not Superman. That's not what he's there for. He is there to be the chipper thing. And the thing is, the DCEU, whatever they want to call it, has got good properties. I think Wonder Woman, obviously, smash it, really. Patty Jenkins definitely needs to keep around. I think Gal Gadot is a really good asset to have in there too, because she's very good at promoting it. James Wan, I think, is a good director. It'll be interesting to see how Aquaman turns out. I think that's a good thing to keep around. Shazam, again, it's all about the tone. That looks good. And as we're about to move on to our next story, it's a case of they're doing other standalone films that don't match the rest of their properties, but are linked by characters played by different people. And we'll get into that in a second. But that's probably going to be the thing that I'm not sure about the most.
Well, speaking of standalone DC films with a questionable tone, Joker movie.
Unnamed Joker movie. Yeah. So obviously we all said about the troubles at DC, but they're continuing to plug along. They're continuing to make these movies. We've actually got our first image of this, again, untitled Joker movie from Todd Phillips. So it's starring Joaquin Phoenix, and it's a Joker origin movie set for, I think I saw October 2019. It's standalone. It doesn't fit within any of the existing continuity. Not much is known about the film at this point, but Todd Phillips has released this image of Joaquin Phoenix in character, but it's not Joker, if that makes sense. It's just a guy looking a bit dishevelled with the caption of Arthur. So it's doubling down on the origin story. We're not going to get what he looks like when he turns into the Joker. Whether we'll even get that until probably the very end of the film is obviously still to be seen. It's been reported in the past that the character is going to be called Arthur Fleck, and I've heard other rumours that circulate that he's going to be either a failing comic or someone that wants to be a comic and then ends up going into the life of crime, which is a very familiar story to a lot of Joker fans.
I've heard that one before.
I've heard a really successful property that has that exact origin story.
Yeah, with a really crap animated film.
The animated film, right, the quick one. The animated film, the first half, it was terrible. That whole Batgirl thing, whatever it was, terrible. The rest of it, pretty good. The current synopsis for the Joker, again, unnamed film, says, under the direction of Todd Phillips, the film centres around the iconic arch nemesis and is an original standalone story not seen before on the big screen. Phillips' exploration of a man disregarded by society is not only a gritty character study, but also a broader cautionary tale, which is potentially one of the most generic synopsises ever.
This film will contain actors.
Yeah, here's a quick thing before we get into it. Something that's going to really bother me is Joaquin Phoenix is great, and I think he will be a good Joker. But you got this standalone origin movie, and then apparently I thought Jared Leto was out, but Jared Leto is going to come back for 3 films.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh dear!
How?
I will fight you as well.
But how can you do an origin story with an actor significantly older at this? Like, he looks like an old man in this origin story.
Yeah,
I know it's standalone, but you don't call it an origin then. Just call it it's a standalone Joker film.
But that's the beauty of the Joker. He has many origin stories. And that's what I like about this one. It seems like they're taking elements of The Killing Joke.
Hopefully, because that's, again, animated film aside, incredible story.
It's alright, but I like the idea that that origin story of the failed comedian, life of crime, wife dies, sends him over the edge, then Batman pushes him over the edge. It's that I like that because I like the idea that it's like falling down. The whole point of The Killing Joke is it just takes one bad day to turn you into that monster.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that this could be a little bit falling down. He just gets pushed and pushed and pushed, and then he's like, you know what, screw it. And he just turns.
He gets the word damage tattooed on his face.
Oh, we pretend that doesn't exist. But, as far as the images, all right, his name's Arthur Fleck, Affleck. Was funny.
Confirmed. Affleck, Batman Reeves film. Confirmed.
And people have been losing their shit over it, going, "Oh, it looks rubbish. That's not the Joker." And it's like, no, it's not. It's Arthur. He's not the Joker yet. Calm down. If the first image, if they did what they did with Jared Leto when they were like, and here's this image, you'd be like, oh, great. Could you imagine if it was the same Joker set in the future and he's got damaged on his head and stuff? It'd look ridiculous. But I think it looks...
That would be incredible.
I think this looks cool. I think you see him in those pictures, and I hate to say it because I've been trying to sort of distance the Jokers, but you get hints of Heath Ledger. You can imagine that's what Heath Ledger would have been like before he turned into the Joker. It was kind of awkward, wearing regular clothes, dishevelled hair, and ready to break, basically.
I guess so. I'm just not sure. I mean, I feel very similarly about this Joker movie as I do to the Venom movie, which we have discussed many times on this podcast. I'm just not sure it was necessary. To me, Joker, there's a quote, I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was Mark Bernardin, the screenwriter and film critic and stuff and journalist. He described it like Joker is like a hurricane. He's a weather system. Like, you don't need to know where he comes from. He just shows up, causes like a hell of a lot of damage, and then he's just gone again. Like, maybe he gets caught by Batman, maybe he gets away, whatever. But I'm not sure. I don't need his origin story necessarily. Like, I've always liked, like everyone else, like The Killing Joke and the idea of multiple origin stories, but making a whole movie dedicated to that one potential story just seems like, I don't know, it feels like I'm getting backstory I didn't ask for. But, I'm sure I'll go and see it. I can't pretend I won't, but...
I think DC are trying to bank on what they know is popular. They know a Joker film will more than likely get a lot of attention.
That is true. Definitely, people will go. That's unquestionable.
It's just occurred to me, what if this was just a script kicking round that someone in Scorsese's camp had that was about a dude who gets pushed and becomes a crime lord, and because, like, what was it? A Quiet Place was originally going to be a Cloverfield movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I guess the scripts exist. That makes sense.
What if they were like, what if that crime lord's the Joker?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see it, but again, like, it just feels like I'm not interested particularly in Joker as crime lord. I know that's why they went for the Suicide Squad, and I know that's why you like it, but like, I like, Two-Face and Penguin and the slightly saner villains, whereas I feel like Joker's just a ridiculous, over-the-top terrorist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like, to my mind, Joker doesn't have the attention span to build like a proper criminal empire. He just sort of occasionally robs a bank or something.
And
then uses that to pay for goons. Yeah, exactly, yeah, like, he just builds like a giant inflatable duck filled with like mustard gas that floats over Gotham, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That sounds like an animated series storyline, that one.
Yeah, it probably is. I'm probably ripping it off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the screenshots look fine. It's an origin, isn't it? It's like if they released the pictures of Christian Bale when he was climbing up the mountain, going, here's your first look at Batman. You'd be like, oh.
This isn't Batman, he's not even wearing a suit.
Yeah, it's the same with this. So I believe in the project. I just think it's going to be a cool crime movie that just happens to have the Joker in it. Much like I think Captain America Winter Soldier's a great espionage movie that just happens to have superheroes in it. I'm not saying that it's going to be as good as Winter Soldier. I just think on its own merits it could work.
Yeah, right, quite possibly.
Quick, before we move on away from the news and we finish the news, because we're talking about DC, I had this thought earlier today that I need to share on the podcast, right?
Right.
Matt Reeves' Batman movie, I got the perfect storyline for it. If Affleck's going to do it, let Affleck do it. Last 10 minutes, you have him hand over the Batman mantle to someone else. Have either of you seen Batman Beyond?
Yeah.
Do that, and then that's how you reboot Batman.
That would actually be... I would definitely watch that. I'd love Batman Beyond,
Ben
actually.
Affleck, I think, would be a really good older Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond. So
Yeah,
if he's looking to step away, say, you know what, Ben, that's fine. You want to step away, do one movie, you hand Batman over, and then you never have to do another one ever again.
But
that would actually be really
good. I had the thought earlier today.
Yeah,
I thought,
you never have
give
to do
someone
another,
Terry McGinnis.
You never have to do another one again until we do a Batman Beyond movie. Then you've got to come and be Alfred.
I mean, you'd love that though. Batman Beyond is so good. I'd pay to help finance that movie myself. I got no money, but I'll just be there. Like, just do it, please.
Just cheering him on.
Please, just do it.
I love that
Batman Beyond is so good. Just do it.
Now, personally, I think they should just recast him with John Hamm.
Who, Batman?
Yeah.
I think he'd be a really good Bruce Wayne, and this also has that weird, horrible question of this person would be a really good Bruce Wayne. I don't know how he'd be a Batman. It shouldn't really matter.
That's why I love Affleck, because he nailed both.
Acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do too bad a job. It was trending towards Dark Knight Returns Batman, wasn't he? Like grim and angry and drinking too much and
personally
hitting tires with a hammer.
Personally, Affleck's my favourite on-screen Batman. Live action, anyway. He's my favourite live action Batman.
That's a hot take.
Yeah. That is amongst the hottest of takes.
And I think Christian Bale, massively overrated.
No, me and you are definitely going to have a fight at some point. Right?
Christian Bale, great Bruce Wayne, didn't like his Batman.
That's understandable.
You know, I'll say okay, fair enough. But let's just not even do the live action distinction. Kevin
Conroy is the one.
Kevin Conroy is the one and only Batman.
Although they said that, I would like to see Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon's
I feel like he could
Batman.
bring something to the role. He'd bring something.
He'd dance
something, yeah.
Dance up a building.
Right then, I believe that draws the news section to a close. So now it's time to talk about what we've been reading over the past couple of weeks. So I can go first if you like. I've been catching up I said this to Rick last time on previous recommendations from you guys. Last time we talked about Venom and everything that's there, and I have read now and consumed the first volume of All-Star Batman, as you recommended a few weeks ago, Ryan. It's really good, isn't it?
Right, how good is it?
It's so good. I mean, I'm not sure I have much more to say than what you already said in the previous episode, which you can go back and check out the archive on. But I thought it was... Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like, like I said at the time, I'm a sucker for any kind of like road trip story, especially where it's like good guy has to drag the bad guy. They managed to put Killer Moth and Firefly in the kind of opening like action scenes, and like had them be about as effective as you'd expect Killer Moth and Firefly to be, but still have them be pretty entertaining. Like, I wasn't really familiar with the kind of main villain, the KG Beast character that they have as the kind of main baddie. I wasn't super familiar with him, but he was alright.
He's in Batman versus Superman.
Was he?
Yeah, he was the Russian bloke who was killing everyone. No, the mercenary who was working for Luthor.
Oh, right. Yeah, with the flamethrower.
Really?
That was KG Beast, yeah.
Oh, damn, okay. That was subtle. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a very, very niche take. He's basically just Russian Bane in All-Star Batman. He's basically just a big, tough man. What, sorry?
I'm fine with that. Just give me all loads of different versions of Bane.
Yes, International League of Banes.
The Baneverse.
That's a movie I'd watch.
That would be quite entertaining. The Baneverse. That's what we're all crying out for.
Everyone played by Tom Hardy.
Just doing a different accent.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, so I read that, and then the big thing that I read recently is a graphic novel from Image Comics called Virgil. So that was written by Steve Orlando, the art's by G.D. Faith, and the colorer Chris Beckett, and the letters Thomas Mayer. That's one of those two. It was really good. Basically, it describes itself, so it's not offensive I say this, it describes itself as a queer-sploitation graphic novel. So what that means, kind of in the vein of 70s sleazy kind of action films, like blaxploitation films, things like Shaft and Foxy Brown, that kind of thing. It's a story. It's a really interesting story. It's set in Jamaica in Kingston. The main character, Virgil, is a police officer, a corrupt, slightly bad man. But he has a secret that he hides from all the people he works with, that he's gay. Basically, he has to hide that because he knows that he'd get in serious trouble with the rest of his unit.
You'd hide that in Jamaica.
Oh God, yes, he absolutely doesn't tell anyone he works with. He pretends that he's straight, and he pretends to be kind of a womanizer. And then at the end of the day, he hangs up his badge and his gun and goes home to his boyfriend. And it transpires the reason he kind of is a dirty cop and takes bribes and shakes down criminals is to get enough money for the two of them to emigrate to Canada, where obviously they can be out and together and actually have a happy life. But as you might expect, it goes kind of horribly wrong. His house gets attacked by a gang of sort of masked, well, you don't really know who it is. It could be criminals, could be his own police officers, because they find out about his sexuality, his partner, and they kidnap his boyfriend and leave him for dead on the beach. And as you can imagine, from a sort of a kind of revenge detective thing, he goes kind of the full John Wick and murders his way across Kingston. It's actually really good. Like, the premise seems like it might be a little lurid or a bit over the top. But I think, John Wick was the comparison, or kind of Kill Bill as well.
Yeah, that just sounds really heavy.
It is pretty heavy, but I think, I mean, it's not sunshine and rainbows. I'll say that. It's pretty grim, pretty kind of full on. But if you're in the mood to, in the same way that if you watch John Wick or Kill Bill, like movies with a pretty grim opening that leads to some very satisfying violence, it kind of has that going for it. It's not the kind of thing I'd want to read every day, but watching him kind of mow down like a room full of scummy drug dealers and save his man was actually really entertaining. So yeah, if you're in the mood for something a little bit grimmer and containing, I should mention a lot of adult situations, shall we call them? Virgil is a really good choice.
That sounds cool.
Well, I guess I'll go next. I've been reading. I haven't been read much of it because I'm revisiting it, but I'm reading the Rick and Morty Book 1 collection, which is a collection of 10 of the comics, writer Zach Gorman and artist CJ Cannon, and it is so unbelievably random. The book itself is a big hardcover book, and it's got a sound chip inside.
Oh,
so
right.
when you open up the cover, it's Rick and Morty voiced by the same people, and it's like, oh wow, a sound chip, wow, a sound chip in a comic. Oh, look at this, Morty. Ooh. And every time I pick it up, I'm just like, sometimes if I'm like taking it to work, I'm like having to like really make sure I don't let it off, so everyone gets really freaked out. But it's really good. It's all 10 comics, and there's one of the issues that's called Mort Balls, which is what you'd expect. And it's just so random. There's small mini issues inside it as well. They're just like mini stories that involve like Beth or Jerry or something like that. And I love me Rick and Morty. I can't get enough of it. I just love it so much. And the comic is just more wackiness. That's all I can really say about it. The storylines are a bit wishy-washy a little bit in the book, so I don't think it's going to be one of those things that follows a massively long linear story. But if you like Rick and Morty, this is right up everyone's alley. This is taking the same humour and everything that you like, the same tone, the same visuals, and it's just dropping it in a comic book, which is exactly what I'd want.
Excellent. Yeah, I like Rick and Morty with certain caveats to, bypassing the worst of that particular show's fandom. But yeah, I think it seems like the kind of series that would lend itself well to being cut up into kind of smaller kind of chunks. I mean, most episodes follow on one by one, don't they? It's not all a huge story necessarily. And Rick, what have you been reading recently?
I've not read anything this week.
I'm shocked.
I've been very busy watching terrible movies and putting out a video that's probably going to get me a lot of hate on the internet. But it's funny. I have, however, been reading the comments section on BigRedBarel.com.
That's excellent.
You may know that website.
I'm broadly familiar with it.
You may know it. So I thought I would introduce a section called Letters from the Comments section.
So such an original name.
That's so snappy.
It is, isn't it? So, yeah, a few people have left comments on the previous episode, so I thought I'd read them out and share them with you guys and maybe talk to the listeners. So, Stealthy Joe, who I met last week at Tabletop Tuesday, and he is a fantastic guy, gave us some really nice feedback. He said, great shows, guys, it's coming on quite well. I can't wait to see the scrolls on the big screen. Lol, they do look like green mini Thanoses. Lol. Yeah, they do. The chins have been changed a little bit, but for the most part, green Thanoses. The Q says, I forgot the Skrulls were basically Fantastic Four villains, and with the Marvel bringing their book back, it has me thinking the Fox made a deal with Marvel for some sort of collaboration. Now, there was a little bit of confusion on this. I myself was confused, so I did some looking into it. And it turns out in 2012, Kevin Feige himself said that the Skrulls have a big connection to Fantastic Four, so there are some contractual limitations about what we can do when it comes to Skrulls, though that is not why we didn't do the Skrulls. Talking about Avengers, there's already enough going on in this movie. This was then backed up in 2016 by James Gunn. You remember that guy who got fired for no reason? Who said some specific Skrulls are at Fox, but the Skrulls as a whole are co-owned. And when it comes to those specific Skrulls, I just want to thank Diarmid for pointing out the specific Skrulls as well. I think that's down to characters like Super Skrull. So we can't get Super Skrull because obviously he has the Fantastic Four's powers. But Skrulls in general can be used, and now it's their time to shine. And finally, Stingo says, DC Universe went live here in the US. I haven't had much of a chance to look at it, apart from some of the DC Nation shorts, Superman of Tokyo being my favourite so far because it's so ridiculous. So, hopefully he'll be able to give us a little more information on how it's planning out, because I want to give it a go, because there's a couple of things I want to see, but I don't know if I'm going to subscribe to it fully. But yes,
excellent. Well, hopefully Stingo can get in touch and let us know if it's any good. If you do want to get in touch with any of us, I know I'm certainly pretty easy to find. If you want to let me know about anything in these episodes, or just to tell me some comic recommendations, or to shout at me for my opinions about Jared Leto, you can find me on Twitter at RubesCubes. That's at ReubsCubes. Where can people find you, Rick?
no, they can find me in the comments section. So yeah, if you want to talk to us, then just leave a comment on BigRedBarel.com or in the forum, and we'll read it. And if we like it, we'll read it out. And yeah, I'm not very good at these things. You can also find me on Twitter at StrangePlayRick, I think is my Twitter handle, or at StrangePlayUK, which is the Twitter handle for my YouTube channel. We've just put out a review for FIFA 19 that we recorded a few months ago, having not played the game. So that's gonna that's gonna get some backlash, I think.
Excellent.
I know where I'm going after this recording.
I was going to say, that's my evening sorted. And Ryan, what about for you?
They can find me and tell me about how I'm a DC fanboy and I hate Marvel at the Ryan Goodman on Twitter.
Cool. Thank you very much for listening. It's about all the time we have for this week, but hopefully we'll see you again soon. Take care, and Excelsior, I guess.
God damn it.
God damn it.
Go!
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts?
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.